What's up, man? I'm gonna talk about this shsdeur situation and why he slid, and the reason why he slid. One more time, I'm gonna leave it alone after today. But I'm gonna say this: Deion Sanders had something to do with him sliding as well. Now, even though a lot of teams said that they didn't grade him as a first-round pick, because I keep telling people, I'm gonna say it once again. The mock draft is not indicative of how the teams are going to choose players. Y'all have to separate the mock draft from the actual draft. That's number one. Because a lot of people got that mixed up. I stopped looking at that draft stuff as the gospel. I stopped doing that about 10 years ago. And I'm like, what they say in this mock draft and what happens on the draft day, that stuff is not lining up. Because once teams start reaching for players, trades happen, the draft start to get a little chaotic. The first 5 picks usually are somewhat correct in the mock draft. They usually get that right, because those are players that are usually franchise players, generational players, or predicted to be all pros at the next level. And what I'm saying, predicted to be, that doesn't mean that they're going to be franchise players or generational players. That's just how they see them come out of college. And a lot of this draft is you're drafted on your potential anyway. But let me say this, and a lot of people are correlating the Eli Manning situation with the Deion Sanders and his son situation. The difference between that situation is Eli Manning and his father did not come out a year before the draft saying, my son is not going to go here, my son is not going to go here, and my son is not going to go here. Deion Sanders did that. Last year he did that. He did it some this year, saying he don't want his son and Travis to play here, play there. I remember him saying, I don't want my son to play in cold weather, but he playing in Colorado. But that's another story for another day. And Eli Manning and his father, Archie Manning, they didn't let the cat out the bird at the cage until draft day. It was draft day people seeing that, oh, he don't want his son going to San Diego Chargers. See, they kept it close to the vest. Deion Sanders started saying all this stuff, and then when you do that, you eliminate teams. When he said he don't want his son to play in cold weather teams, that's eliminating teams like the Giants, like Pittsburgh. You know what I'm saying? Got teams that need quarterbacks. And when I look at the draft, like last year, 6 quarterbacks was taken. And they looked at a lot of those quarterbacks as being either generational, and Caleb Williams, or franchise quarterback, changing quarterbacks. So a lot of teams beefed up on quarterbacks last year. This year was supposed to have been an off year for quarterbacks. Next year is supposed to be another beef up year for quarterbacks. So shsdeur Sanders and Cam Ward already was in a conundrum in between 2 big drafts for quarterbacks, predicted in people predictions. So they also said that Cam Ward, if he was taken last year, he would have been the last quarterback taken. So what does that put shsdeur? That puts shsdeur at number 8, number 9, or number 10. So that's how they view these things. It's not how we view them or how the mock draft view these players. It's how the teams and the GMs and the owners view these teams, because ultimately they're going to be choosing these players to be on their team. So y'all have to, first of all, separate the mock draft from that. Third of all, Deion Sanders and his son overplayed their hand. Deion Sanders famously said that these teams don't see shsdeur how I see him. I see special in shsdeur. That's his son, number one. His son has been playing on his team and for Deion since he's been playing football. So he see his son, whether it's overinflated talent, which sometimes can happen because he's his father. He's his father, and he has put a lot of time into his son becoming a quarterback that can be drafted in the NFL. So maybe I can see his point. I can see him overinflating his son. But for everybody else, the only reason why y'all overflating shsdeur Sanders is because he's Deion Sanders' son. Because if he wasn't Deion Sanders' son, y'all wouldn't be talking about him like this. He doesn't show physical gifts he hasn't shown physical gifts in the NFL. I mean, in college that warrants y'all to say he gonna be this at the NFL, because remember, it's a prediction. He's not really that tall. He's not really that big as far as mass. I believe he's like 6'1", 220 maybe. That's not a big quarterback. He doesn't have a big arm. He does have accuracy. Well, a lot of NFL scouts say they like his accuracy. But he got sacked a lot in college, which either means that, and people know that his offensive line wasn't that great, but getting sacked 94 times is not all on the offensive line. He's not, either he's trying to look for the big play too much, or he's not processing information well. And that's what they're looking at. They're saying, well, either he's not processing the information what he's seeing very well, or he's looking for the big play too much, which both of them are bad, because you're trying to play hero ball, which can get you hurt, which he was hurt at Colorado a couple times, which at the next level, these guys are bigger, stronger, faster. They can hurt you even more. So they're looking at this type of stuff. They did not evaluate him as a first-round talent, because they would have took him in the first round. They didn't value him as a second-round talent. In the first round, that's generational as a quarterback. That's how they look at you. Generational to franchise quarterback in the first round. If they don't take you in the first round, they look at you as a backup after that. A backup in the second round to fringe starter. Third round, backup. Fourth and fifth round, fringe backup to we can possibly cut you before you even make the team. So that's how they evaluated shsdeur Sanders. People like Willie D, people like Mace, people like Shannon Sharp, Ojo Cinco, all the other pundits, Stephen A. Smith, the President of the United States, they all, Whoopi Goldberg even chimed in on it. Y'all can also say that, well, we see his talent as this. Y'all opinion doesn't matter, because he's not going to play for your team. You don't have an NFL team. So your opinion on where his talent is, which is relative, evaluating these players are relative. That doesn't mean that's what his career is going to be. It's just going into the draft, that's where they had him. And being drafted, that's where they had him. Y'all evaluation of him don't matter. It's the team's evaluation of him don't matter. And then people bringing race into it. Race has nothing to do with it. Out of the 32 players that was chosen in the first round, 29 or 28 of them was black players. The number one overall draft pick in Cam Ward, the last time I checked, he was black. The quarterback, Caleb Williams, that went to my Chicago Bears last year, last time I checked, he was black. The quarterback before that was Bryce Young. The last time I checked, he was black, and he was chosen number one overall. So 3 quarterbacks in a row chosen number one overall are what? African-American quarterbacks. Stop with the racist stuff. And then y'all gonna say, well, Eli Manning was able to pull it off. And I just explained to y'all that they did it the day of the draft. They didn't do it. They didn't turn off teams. They let the evaluation process go through. He did not eliminate teams that can possibly draft his son like Deion did. He eliminated teams that can possibly draft his son when he said, I want my son to play for a bad franchise. I want my son to play for a cold weather franchise. So you're eliminating teams. Now, to me, the only teams that really needed a quarterback going into the draft, was probably Pittsburgh. People say the Giants, but the Giants, they signed Russell Wilson. They only signed him to a 1-year contract, so you could put them in there as needed a quarterback. The Raiders didn't need a quarterback because they just signed Geno Smith. So they didn't need a quarterback. So it was only 2 teams. And then they said that his son went in there and botched a lot of the interview process. His son didn't throw in the Senior Bowl. His son didn't throw in the combine, because his son looked at himself and overplayed his hand. That's why I say they overplayed his hand. He seen himself in a Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, Cam Ward type light, and the NFL did not see him like that. So if the NFL don't see you like that, you have to participate in everything. You have to conduct yourself. You have to conduct yourself in those interviews with the team stellar, because they don't see you in that light. If that man was a generational talent, he could have been as arrogant as he wanted to be. His father could have been as arrogant and a pest as he wanted to be. Because a lot of this stuff was said about Caleb Williams last year, that he wanted a piece of a franchise. His father was going to be a headache. His father was going to be a problem, and he still was chosen number 1 overall. If they looked at shsdeur Sanders as a generational talent, guess what, y'all? His name would have been off that board number 1 or number 2. Because he's a quarterback. And the way he comported himself in those interviews, they say he botched the interviews. You got to realize, if they're going to take a quarterback, let's just say they're going to take a quarterback in the first round, take him in the first round. Man, you a CEO of the football team. You're a CEO. So you're not interviewing just to be the quarterback of the team. You're interviewing to be the CEO of the team as well. And you messed that up. And now he probably messed up his future chances too. Because let's just say he go through the Browns training camp and they cut him. Other teams that can possibly pick him up probably gonna say, I'm not finna touch him with a 10-foot pole. When I had him in an interview, he didn't comport himself well. So you're not only interviewing just for one team that's drafted you, you're interviewing for future teams that can possibly put you on a team or possibly bring you in for a look. So he probably screwed that up. So yeah, to me, Deion Sanders and his son overplayed their hand. He looked at his son as, I guess, the second coming, and his son looked at himself. Like I said, you could be as confident as you want to be. You could be arrogant. You can have your personality. You can be unapologetically you. Guess what? When you're trying to go look for a job or have a job interview, and you want to be unapologetically you, to me that's a red flag anyway. And you want to have your arrogance and all that stuff, that doesn't mean the people that's interviewing you have to accept that. That's all I'm saying. Like I said, you can be you. Be you, keep it real for the hood and all this stuff. When it's time to get a job, and if you don't get the job, you have to reflect and look back and see what happened. What did I do wrong in the interview? Did I answer the questions crisp? Was I dressed properly? How was my body language? They said he had his hat cocked to the side with his earphones, not over his ears, but around his neck, still playing. Come on, man. Come on, man. What are you doing? This is a one-in-a-lifetime chance for anybody to get drafted. It's a lot of players on that night that didn't get drafted. That was hoping and praying that they get drafted. And no, it's not a conspiracy. They did not see him as a starting quarterback, so he started dropping. Not that many teams needed quarterbacks, so he started dropping. He didn't comport himself well in the interviews, so he started dropping even more. If you're not looked at as a generational quarterback or a franchise quarterback, your intangibles have to be stellar. The way you comport yourself, how your attitude is, your body language. Because your tangibles are not good enough, which is your arm talent, your physical gifts, all that stuff is not good enough for it to overcome you being a-hole, shsdeur Sanders. Like I said, if shsdeur Sanders was looked at as a franchise quarterback or a generational talent, he can be an a-hole. Because sports in general will tolerate all your BS as long as your talent overweighs the BS by a lot. They will let you do and get away with a lot. If your talent is here and the BS is here, which that's how they see shsdeur Sanders, that's what happens. And I believe if the Browns would have came up and drafted him, he probably would have fell out of the draft. Possibly. But let me know what y'all think, man. I'm out.